When looking for the king of podcasts, you're at the wrong channel.
Well, excuse me!
Looking for good ideas for life? You're far from good hands.
Hey, bud, what's your problem?
If you think the listener is always right, you're far from the right place.
Out of order! Even in the future, nothing works!
Hosted by a Northeasterner by birth, but a rebel by choice.
Are you threatening me?
If you want a host that floats between love and madness,
and we know the night is always gonna be here anyway. Thinking of you's working up my appetite, looking forward to a little afternoon delight.
then play on and listen to Crazy Train Radio.
All right, guys, listen to this blues riff and B. Watch me for the changes and try and keep up, okay?
Warning, creators of this game do understand the subject matter may be offensive to some, but they do honor the families and people that have been affected by these real-life tragedies that these individuals have caused. Want to play a game?
Oh, yeah!
Lover of true crime?
Yes, yes, yes.
Well, we got an interesting game for you to check out.
Wow.
With the mashup of influences such as horror movies, collecting cards, and RPGs.
What?
Led to giving birth to an incredible creation of this game, Killers, the card game.
You are all my children now.
This game is a collectible trading card game featuring some of the most infamous killers, with tidbits of trivia on the back of each card to help you learn some insight to each criminal.
Who the hell are you?
Let's not forget, during the game, cops will be chasing you and these criminals.
I'm a cop, you idiot!
However, check out their website listed through all social media today, which can be found under Killers, the card game.
Am I on the internet?
I want to play a game.
Hi, my name is Herb Perez, 1992 Olympic gold medalist in the Olympic sport of Tae Kwon Do, and it's my pleasure and honor to be with Crazy Train Radio and talking about my passion for the martial arts. I hope you all are well.
Hey folks, it's your least favorite host in the podcast world, Croc, Jonathan Steele. And boy, do we have a good one for you today. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, looking forward to this one because I get to sit under a little bit of a learning tree again. So, you heard this next gentleman as part of a martial arts panel, and as we were just joking, he's doing real people stuff. Yeah, I'm glad I was able to catch him before he goes overseas for a few weeks. You probably best know him for being the 1992 gold medalist in Tae Kwon Do for the U.S., Master Herb Perez.
How are you,
Good afternoon,
sir? How you guys doing?
No complaints on this end, so I guess I'll ask there. So you said in our email exchanges that you are going to China. Is this for vacation or what is this for, if I may ask?
Oh, just a little family business. I had just come back from Korea this past couple of months. I first tested for my 9th Dan black belt, and then I passed, and then I went back for a ceremony. They have a pretty neat ceremony, so I went back for that for a little bit, and had some meetings over there. My China trip is actually some family things, but while I'm there, I'm trying to meet with one of my former friends, current friend, former teammates, and former coach, Dae Sung Lee, because he's been living in China for quite some time and is building some programs over there. So I'm looking forward to talking to him about his progress and what he's been up to.
Well, that is definitely good. And I wish you nothing but a successful and fun trip for that.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you.
Appreciate it. And, you know, I was doing a little homework here because obviously I know of your martial arts background and such, but I was impressed because we know everything online is true, that you went to Rutgers Law School. Was that in Camden or New Brunswick? Because my sister works there.
Rutgers, Newark. So they have two law school campuses. One is on in Newark, and one is in New Brunswick, in Camden, actually. And so I was at the Newark one because it was closest one to me. We did a handful of classes in the Camden one, and we usually did those. This is before Zoom, but they had teleconferencing, believe it or not. So you would end up teleconferencing into it, and so it was pretty neat. But great school, great constitutional law program, and I was really happy with the education. Although I chose not to practice law, I think it was an amazing education and built on my philosophy degree.
Okay. Well, you mentioned it there, but obviously there's all different types of law and stuff, and even though you're not practicing. Was it constitutional law that you studied?
You study a pretty broad range of stuff. I decided to focus a little bit on constitutional law because that was my interest, and also on international, because I thought that I would end up in international law of some sort or sport law. And so I was going to intern for the U.S. Olympic Committee and then try to do some other stuff with it. But I got caught up in the TV show at that same time, and then got caught up in some other stuff that just didn't let that occur. So I really can't complain. It was a nice diversion, nice change from my career that I had in mind. But I didn't end up practicing. And I'm kind of glad I didn't. I thought it was a great education, but I think it would have been a little mundane and not the best use of my skill set, perhaps.
What was the education I was reading about with that the Olympic team set you up with? I believe it was in France.
So the next thing was I was selected for a scholarship. I had been working in the movement for some time. I was on the board of directors, and so they targeted me as a guy who might be a future leader in the movement. So I was able to get a scholarship to do my master's of sport administration. It's called an executive master's of sport organization management. So you study how to run a nonprofit, how to work inside those organizations that service sport. And that includes everything from building mission statements to all the other stuff that kind of goes along with that. And so I was fortunate. I did my studies in France. I did the Asian section. So I was in Cairo, Kuwait, Qatar, and then you do your another section in France, in Lyon, and Switzerland. So I was pretty much I got a chance to visit a lot of places and spend a few weeks in each and do my studies in addition to another study that I did with the International Olympic Committee, which was I did the Olympic Academy with in Greece. So that was pretty interesting as well. So it's the International Olympic Academy, and they have two versions. One is for athletes, and then another is for professionals. And I did the one for athletes.
Well, I'm going to intertwine both personal, professional, and everything else as we go along here. But as we say all that, are you surprised when you think about it up to this point that just wandering into that Tae Kwon Do school in New York City would have eventually led you to where you are now with all the experiences?
I think, I speak about this often about kids and opportunities and what you do with those opportunities when you're faced with those moments. And so, and I just recently I do a life skills series for my students every month, every week, depending on the month. And I just did one on inspiration and fire. And so, inspiration in my mind is what causes you to do something. And then fire is the thing that causes you to continue to do it despite the circumstances surrounding it. So I really had an inspiration to learn self-defense because I lived in a very tough area. And then I had a fire of not wanting to be poor and like having no interest in being poor. So I did Taekwondo as a vehicle to help me understand what I would need to do so that I wasn't a victim physically and I wasn't a victim economically. And so I can't say that I'm not surprised at the outcome of my success, because I'm surprised because all I really started was to do Taekwondo to be successful. And then I liked fighting and winning. On the other hand of it, though, understanding what Taekwondo does as a transformational vehicle for people, then I really can't say that I'm surprised at the outcome, because Taekwondo really is a transformational vehicle. It will help you literally do anything that you want to do with it if you are patient enough to continue to do it. I think the one thing that I am surprised at, though, is the level of what I was able to do. I don't think that I thought that I would be able to win at that level like I did. I thought there would come a point where I just couldn't pass it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was the case. And so every time I won something or I didn't win something, I was like, well, maybe this will be the one I don't win. You know what I mean? And then I ended up winning it. So I'm like, oh, okay. So that's not the case. So it's a mixed bag. You don't really know what you're going to end up with. And so I guess I was lucky in that sense.
And, it's funny because you told me this during the panel, but also I've heard you say in other outlets and stuff that you told the instructor at that school that your mom was downstairs the whole bit. You went down, signed the form.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That whole thing.
Yeah.
So what did your parents actually think when you said, "Oh, by the way, I'm going to try this out"?
They didn't know. They had no idea. They had no idea. I didn't tell them till I started competing and winning. And then my mom was happy that I was winning. And but they had no idea, zero idea. So I was lucky in that sense that they were able to do that. That's 1-1-1. And so they didn't have any idea that I was doing it. So they didn't have any idea. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I'm buying my future here. I figure if I can win the Olympics, I can win a lottery, maybe. That'll be the cap to my story. And then I'll die a day later. But I tell the story about my mom because, my biggest happiness was bringing home my trophies to her. You know what I mean? That was it. So like I would take great pride in going to a tournament and bringing back trophies for her. And she liked the trophies, right? So she was like, happy. There was a point where I wasn't making a ton of money. I was a kid. And so she would actually give me the money to compete. And I'd take that money and go compete and bring back a trophy. And back then it was maybe $15, and then it went up to $25. So I felt like the need to make sure that I won because she was, paying for it. So, it was an interesting thing. So
got to make sure she's getting her money's worth. Damn it.
Exactly.
No, it's funny that, and I have friends, I think I mentioned to you, that deal with different disciplines, whether it be weapons disciplines, different martial arts and such.
Right.
And across the platform, it always, or across the board, I should say, it always seems like the values taught during one's training is pretty similar, whether it be patience, determination, perseverance. Right. Would you agree with that kind of thought process? I was asking, so it seems like a lot of the values that one would learn in any form of martial art, whether it be patience, determination, perseverance, things like that, are very similar. Would you agree with that, whether it's Tae Kwon Do or any other discipline?
I don't think the martial art matters. So what I've told people for the longest time is, I think it matters that you practice. I don't think it matters what you practice. So I think, if you practice Kung Fu, Wushu, Pushu, whatever you practice, Taekwondo, Money Do, whatever, it doesn't matter. So as long as you do the practice and if you're taught the right way and you train the right way, then it's all going to make sense. If you don't, then it's not going to make sense. Does that make sense?
No, it does. Because it was funny. I don't know. I'm trying to think it doesn't matter at this point when it was, but I can't think of from when we did the panel to when I was out in San Jose area.
Right.
And I ended up in some of the lessons and stuff, which was great to learn a different style. But
right.
I was thinking from stuff that I was taught previously. So what's that from your perspective like if people try to bring the different philosophies to apply what you're being taught at that moment, if that makes sense?
I think it all works out. I don't think the philosophies matter as much as the way you approach the subject matter. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So I think it matters how you approach it. I'm trying to figure out how much air I have to put in this tire. I have no idea. I'm laughing because I can't figure out how much air you put in this tire.
Checking the inside of the door, depending on the vehicle.
No, you know what it is? I changed the tires. So I apologize.
Okay.
I got these big monster tires and I got like a low tire air warning, but I can't figure out how much air. And it doesn't look like I need air, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. And folks, this is the real life stuff we were talking about as
I know,
we started.
Right?
So no, it's fine. Yeah, we keep it.
I'm trying to figure out, I'm laughing at myself because I can't figure out how much air I need in a tire. That's
Master Perez, you are a better man than me because I would be the same boat. I'm not, handy that way. So you're one step ahead of me.
So go ahead. I'm listening.
Yeah. So, obviously you've had so many different awards. 6-time national team captain. You've been a 3-time Pan American champion, executive committee member, gold medalist, Taekwondo Hall of Fame in '88, Black Belt Magazine Hall of Fame, the whole 9 yards. Is there a certain award that really hits you right in the heart the most, or you're most proud of?
I think winning, what I always tell people about that, was I was fortunate enough to win the Olympic thing. And I think that was the one thing that I won, that when I won it, I was like, it mattered. And I can't stress that enough because that was such a different experience, such a different thing. And when I won it, I was like, I didn't know what to expect from it. And I was fortunate I had won the world championships. I had won the Pan Am Games. I had won, Pan Am Taekwondo. I've been national champion for so many years. And then I had won the collegiates. I had won everything there was what there was to win in the sport. And so then when I won the world championships, I beat Korea. And when I beat Korea, it was weird, right? Because I really expected it to be more meaningful or impactful. And it really wasn't. It was like just something. So when I actually won the Olympic, I was surprised at my reaction, because it was like I cried. I was, all of the things that you would think you would have as emotionally. When I won the World Cup, though, I didn't have that. I was just like, okay, it didn't really seem to matter, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a really weird thing, because I called Master Kim and I was like, hey, I won, and he's like, I said, no, I won. You don't understand, I won. And he's like, I said, I beat Korea. I'm the first person I ever beat Korea. And he's like, see you when you get home. So it was really weird. The reception you get after winning in the Olympics is so much different, so much better, so much more. Just going to the Olympics is what I tell people. So I guess because people, when they hear you're an Olympian or you go to the Olympics, then all of a sudden they don't even ask you what color medal, right? So it's a really weird and different experience, is what I would say. And so I would say the Olympics. I mean, of monumental things in my life, first, obviously, my children being born, and then my family stuff. And then after that, probably winning the Olympics, getting into law school. I can remember things like that seemed to matter a lot.
Well, it's funny. I'll go back to the winning and losing in a second, because would you say part of that, your emotional feeling of things there, had to do with, say, your maturity, because you were 32 at the time you competed in the Olympics.
Right.
Because there's a lot of Olympians that are, 16, 17, 18, early 20s, where you had lived some life at that point, and you were able to enjoy the moment because you were starting law school when you got back. But also you had to, you stayed focused, but you were able to relax and try some food and take in the experience, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think that you get a freedom, which is good. And I think what I try to tell people is it takes a certain amount of understanding of what you need to do to compete. And once you get to that level of understanding that it's really should just be fun and you really should enjoy the experience of being competitive, I think then it becomes a different adventure. And so for me, it was a different adventure in the sense that I was able to release myself to the fact this was my last competition, win or lose. And as such, all I had to do was perform. So perform at the level you want to perform at, have fun, make it meaningful, make it good, and then the rest will work itself out. When you get that sort of freedom, where you can have the freedom to win and lose and then just enjoy the experience, is when you truly then have something that matters. And until you get to that level of freedom, then, it's a different world. I went to the Olympics. I enjoyed every moment of it. I relaxed. I had fun. I looked at videotapes in the library of the other guys I was fighting. I ate paella on the beach. I trained as hard as I could. And so when I went into the arena, that was just the end of the adventure. And being the end of the adventure, it had a great outcome. Not everybody had the same outcome, obviously. But I was fortunate in that I did have a decent outcome. And so my story is good. There are a lot of guys that didn't have the outcome, and a lot of my teammates that didn't have the outcome they wanted. So I imagine that would be different. But the good news is that I always take that in a humble sense. I don't look at it as anything else other than what it was. And so it's fun that all it was that and nothing more.
Totally understand that. So would you say the most stressful thing about that would be being team captain? Because obviously you were a liaison between your teammates and the coaches and everything else.
Oh yeah. No, I had a couple of run-ins with coaches. I have a lot of respect for my coaches, but I had a lot of run-ins with the coaches because I wasn't going to put up with what we used to put up in the past, which was do whatever they say, no matter what the impact was going to be on your performance. So I got to a point where if the coach was asking us to do something that I didn't think was going to be helpful to be as an athlete of the team, I kind of halfway did it. I did it like as enthusiastic as I could, and I can remember there was this one instance where my friend who I'm actually going to see in China said to me, "Hey, you better blah, blah," and I was like, "Don't say anything else to me. Say anything else to me, I'm just going to leave." And so he said something else and I left. I'm like, "Nah, man, I ain't doing it. I'm not putting up with, I'm not doing it." So I took off for the day. I went to relax. I went on a bike ride. I watched videos of the fights. I had a fight. And every time they saw me, I would run away. Like they'd see me and they're like, "Oh, there he is." And I was like, "Yeah, there I am." But I'm not going to be, I'm not going to be doing what you guys want to do. Leave me alone. You know what I mean? And so the guy was, he came to my room later that night, and I'm like, "I'm here to win. I'm not here to do anything else." And so as such, just leave me alone. Let me do what I do. And so we always joke about that story because he had been on teams with me before, and he had been captain of teams I was on. He had been coaches of teams I was on. So he was familiar with my, how shall I put it, my antics, And so, as such, it was what it was.
Yeah, you would think he'd be familiar at that point with how you operate it.
Well, he should have understood that I was not going to put up with, I was there to win. And so if I'm there to win, I'm already there to do what I'm supposed to do. So don't add any drama or stress to it, because I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And as such, let me do what I'm going to do. And I'm not going to do anything that's not, not what I wanted, not what I was this thing doing. I'm trying to figure out how it works. There's something else. I don't want to lose air.
Yeah, we can't do that.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how it. I guess you gotta. What do I do? I press that. Oh, $2. They want money, of course. Not allowed to.
Shocker.
They're not allowed to charge for air in California, but I'll pay.
Shocker, folks.
And error occurred. Please try again. Is there a thing here? So yeah. Anyway, in California, you're not allowed to charge for air. I could point that out to them, but.
And this is coming from a former city councilman and mayor of Foster City, folks.
Yeah.
So
I think I want to say it's working now. All right, let's see if it's working now.
Yeah, right.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
Okay, now we good work? We working?
Yeah, I think so. I'm sorry.
All right. So give a little blow of your own to make sure we're good to go. But what was I was reading, because I know, like I said, everything online is true. What was this thing apparently later on down the road that there was a scoring discrepancy and whatnot?
There was a scoring. There was for me or for someone else.
You were arguing. It wasn't for you competing, but you were there as part of the committee or coaching. If I read that right.
Yep, and it was they were cheating as they usually do. And then man, this thing I can't figure it out. I'm gonna go to another one. This was not good. That was weird. Oh, let me see. Something came off. Let me put it back on.
Yeah.
Let me see why it came off. Go ahead. So it was at the World Championships, and they had a thing where. Let me see if I can screw this back on. Looks like it just came off.
Oh boy. Oy vey.
Yeah. All right. And it was for Steven Lopez. And I think it just broke. That would be bad if that's the case.
Triple A, where are you when we need you?
Exactly. I think I'm going to just put this cap on and leave it like that rather than try to figure it out. But it looks like it broke off. All right.
Hopefully you didn't strip it.
Dude, no, I don't think so. It's not working. So then Steven, they had kind of cheated on Steven. And I was like, you can't, he had, in fairness to the other athlete, they had, it was a sudden death match against Spain in Spain. They had decided, the match was decided by one kick, and Steven kicked the guy in the butt, and they saw it on the tape. And so they were like, the crowd was booing and all this sort of stuff. And according to the rules, they can't change that outcome. So they can't change the outcome of a match based on something they see on video. And it was on a big jumbotron, so everybody in Spain saw it, not just,
kind of like an instant replay deal.
Oh yeah, but the entire stadium. But the rules don't allow it to be changed. And so he had actually kicked him, pretty straightforward, right in the butt, like no doubt in the butt. And I was like, well, yeah, that's not good. And I told him, I said, you can do nothing about it. Like you can, just leave it like that and not do anything about it. Like, cause they can't force you to take a loss. Right. And I said, or you can fight them again and fight the point again, and win or lose, you'll be the most famous player in the history of the sport. And so that's up to you. Me, I would probably fight him again. This way, if you beat him again, which I think you can for 1 point, then you'll go down in history as the most famous player in the history of the sport. Or if you lose, you'll be the greatest sportsman in the sport. So either way, win or lose, you're still, the guy, right? But the rules didn't allow it to be changed regardless. So we ended up preventing them from breaking the rules and cheating. And we were in Spain at the World Championship. So that's that was the whole point of the thing. So unfortunate.
Yeah. So 2 more questions on the sport. And first one is, you were apparently challenged to help rebuild the Afghan Olympic sports program. Obviously, after, I think it was like 2003, 2004. So what was that like when they called you and said, hey, we think you can be the guy to help reestablish everything?
I mean, I was honored that they would consider me for that level of involvement. And as such, we went, it was literally after the war, we had to go to Afghanistan. We went, and it was devastating. I mean, the people were in, just in disrepair, and there was all sorts of stuff going on. It was horrible. And, but they were passionate about sports. So, I felt lucky, honored to be involved at that level, and really just, honored that they considered us to help. And so we identified a couple athletes and sent them all to Korea to train, and then they ended up winning a bronze medal at the Asian Games that year.
Well, speaking of teaching, and I think it's only appropriate to get the plug in here, you have the Gold Medal Martial Arts Center in Foster City. So what do you focus on? And I know obviously Tae Kwon Do, but what is your goal for students that come in? Are you a competitive school, or how would you describe it?
No, we teach life skills. I mean, we want the students to do well. We want them to do well in life. And so our main focus is to make sure our students are doing well in life and developing as people rather than just competitors. So we do teach competitive athletes, and we had, a seminar this weekend when one of my friends, an Olympic coach, who's been the Olympic coach of the U.S., of Mexico and Brazil, Juan Moreno, So we do provide, that kind of level of training. But on the other side of it, we are focused on developing kids who are going to be great citizens, not just great athletes.
Okay. I was just thinking about it because I was on the phone with a friend the other day from LA who's a weapons expert and all that stuff, martial artist. And he's got a lot of, wears many hats, I should say. And I'm curious to know, because I'd kick myself if I didn't ask you. Have you had any experience with a Judo Gene LaBelle?
No, he worked with Century for a bit, and he's world famous and notorious for his ability to do what he does. So I have the utmost respect. He was an amazing martial artist and well respected among his peers. So yeah, no, I'm well aware. So I'm not have been shocked by him.
Okay. Yeah, because we were joking on the phone, me and my buddy, who's also in the Black Belt Hall of Fame. He said when he got the award, Judo Gene calls him up and goes, "Kid, you're my hero," which is a huge compliment. For
he's
obvious reasons.
Everybody that I know respects him, and they say he was the guy that they portrayed in that movie with Bruce Lee.
Mm-hmm. And the last question for you is, I noticed snooping around online, you are a guitar guy. So what do you prefer playing, and is there a style of music you enjoy playing when you play?
Oh, I play. I've been playing. I do more guitar than I did taekwondo probably, but I still play, and I played for a couple of bands out this way. I played when I was younger in some pretty big bands that made a bunch of money and opened for Twisted Sister and stuff. So I play. My favorite guitar player is Jeff Beck. So that's my preferred style. Jeff Beck for sure. And so I'm a rock guy, but I play jazz now. I play all sorts of stuff. I love music, and to this day I still love it and still play a bunch of it.
And music can certainly be it brings everybody together internationally.
Oh yeah.
But I will obviously put a link to the school, Gold Medal Martial Arts Center. But Master Herb Perez, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you for everything. I'll see you guys when I get back home.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Hey there, Friday fans. We know how much you enjoy the movies. Enjoy grabbing your Friday merchandise and interacting with the Friday family, whether it be at conventions or during our particular watch-alongs. Well, when you're looking to get yourself masks, why not check out our friends over at Camp Blood Customs out of New York State and order your specific custom mask from any of the films. All orders are made specifically. Your needs and wants are. Make sure you find Camp Blood Customs on Facebook, Instagram, and all over social media and order yours today.
Hi, this is Anthony DeLongis, and you're listening to Crazy Train Radio.